Chiefs face the Detroit Lions in a primetime matchup that they have to have today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. It is Red Friday as we get ready. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you'll get $300 if that bet wins to use across the app at FanDuel. Check that out. We are going to run it down for you. Disappointing season to this point. After the Eagles also have gone on a losing streak, Super Bowl participants are faring pretty rough so far this week. What can they do against the Lions in another primetime matchup? So critical, so early. That's where we start today. We will then get to the must-win matchups that you have to have in order to get that next W, the X factors that could change it all, and the predictions that we have right coming up after this. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. NFL33.com is one of my sites, and RGR Football is another. It's the YouTube channel. Chris is over at KC Chiefs Corner. You can find him there, and we've been doing this together for 9 years. If you are an everydayer, you absolutely already know that, and if you're not, become an everydayer by getting subscribed on a platform or multiple, whether you like video or audio or whatever you're looking for. If you are looking for the audio side right now, you can listen to Locked On Chiefs and follow the show for new episodes on Amazon Music and get that ad-free daily. So check that out. And if you want that much more, you can get on our text line at 816-357-8781. Get in the action there. Now, this is a long time coming. And this is, I think, I hope the catalyst that drives them to get over the hump, because I felt like for the first time this season, despite early disappointment, that the post-game, the pressers this week have all been very much like, holy cow, we let ourselves get in this position when we shouldn't have. It's rare for this team to be at a crossroads moment, so to speak, so early in this season, right? And whether it was Patrick Mahomes post-game or Chris Jones at the podium this week, everybody seems like, okay, we've let this go too far. We have to turn this around right now. How are you reading it?
They have to turn it around. The big question is will they get that done? And the bigger thing on this is you are dealing with injuries. Although it seems like at this point, Xavier Worthy is probably going to play. He did miss practice on Thursday, so that's concerning. Looks like he was back out there on Friday. Nate Taylor said that he thinks he's going to play, and it was more precautionary because he was having some soreness. We'll see if that ends up being the case. I don't know. If he doesn't play, this offense gets to be it's going to be a very different offense. The reality is you have to look at this game and say, if you're Kansas City, you can't afford to fall to 2-4. But the bigger question I have and where this is going to go is this team ready to be under that type of pressure already at this point in the season? Most of the guys that have been here for a long time, I don't think you feel bad about asking that question for, but it's the new guys. It's also the guys that are playing bigger roles this year than they have in the past. Are they ready for not necessarily just prime time, but the added pressure that's going to be coming with the fact that they have to win probably 4 of the next 5 games to get back in to where they want to be or close to where they want to be.
Yeah, we're on a knife's edge here. Right now, we are talking about a team that is in a seeding conundrum about whether they travel week 1 of the playoffs or not. They lose this next game, we are now in a playoff conundrum. Like, do you make it or not?
I was going to say, you're talking about seeding. I'm not worried about seeding. I'm worried about whether or not they make it. Like, they've shown that they have the ability to win regardless of where they play. They've done it before. So I'm not as worried about seeding as I am getting to a point where you can feel like you can make the playoffs. And that's a big question right now. The one thing that they have going for them that I think could really help is they still have 5 games against their division left. And I understand they lost to the Chargers, and I get that that's a problem. But you still control your own destiny in your division, and that is going to go a long way as to whether or not you can win the division and make the playoffs.
True. And as I said preseason, I do believe that the Broncos are a better team than the Chargers. So I expect them to give the Chargers a loss, if not 2. So I agree with you. They are still in control of themselves. As for this week, I have 2 concerns. One, if Xavier Worthy does play, is it worth it? Did we see enough of Xavier last week in a dilapidated condition that it's worth putting him back on the field? I'm not convinced of that yet, because I do feel like we've seen enough spark that they could get through as long as they don't get in a total shootout. And that's on Spags and the defense. We'll talk about that coming up. But I feel like the group that I now refer to as Taekwon and the Bros can get enough done if they can't get actual Xavier out of Xavier. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't know that they're going to be able to get Xavier out of Xavier regardless of whether he plays or not. Obviously if he doesn't, they won't get it. But I would argue their chances go down drastically if he doesn't play. I do think that this offense has shown that they have the ability to do different things without him, but I think that they absolutely need him in this game because this is going to be a higher scoring game, I'm afraid. And I do think that they're going to need that added firepower and all the different things that he can bring to this offense.
I cannot argue with that. And I know for those of you that are out there saying, well, hey, Hollywood's the next big name in this wide receiver group. He is, but that's not the role that he's playing right now. If Xavier is unable to go, it is up to Taekwon Thornton to stretch this defense against a secondary that we'll talk about very shortly that has to be the target of your attention if you're Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and whoever that receiving crew is, because this is an all holds barred. I guess we should boil it down to this. In your opinion, is this a must-win game for this season?
I think it's a must-win game. The bigger question isn't necessarily is this a must-win game. The bigger question to me is what is this team's moxie and what do they have? Because so far this season they haven't shown it. And if they want any chance of doing anything in the playoffs, they need to show that they belong. And I'm not going to base everything on the Jacksonville Jaguar game because I do think that they kind of showed that they were probably out of the doldrums a little bit against the Ravens. And obviously the Ravens have some huge injuries and that's an issue there. But the Chiefs did then come in and go off for 2 touchdown drives that looked fantastic on offense, and their defense was playing well. And then all of a sudden Jacksonville made changes at halftime and all hell broke loose and the Chiefs just got sloppy. Is that the team that this is, or can they go back to who they have been in the past? Because the other part of this that really hurts them is they went, I think it was 11-0 last year in 1-score games. They're 0-3 right now. You're not going to be in a situation where you can lose all your 1-score games and make the playoffs. That's not going to be reality in the NFL.
That's very true. The situational football that they get into, there seems to be that waiting game. How do they correct that? They have to win matchups, and they have to do one thing in particular that Andy Reid doesn't like to do, and that's keep the hammer down. That's next. This show is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today, and you'll get the parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, electrical items, and the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts for that last-minute project, if you're trying to make a delivery date, or you're trying to be a game changer on game day, make sure that you have the parts that you need by going with them. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHCOLLEGE 5 for 5% off of your order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people and real service. Now, when it comes to matchups, we have it all for you. It's the Friday show, but we're here 5 days a week. If you don't know that already, become an everydayer because that's what they are. We very much appreciate you guys. And you can find our other outlets where we'll expand, but we're going to give you the gist, the things that you have to know right here. And the thing that you have to know is as much as the players' failure to execute was on the table last week, so was Andy Reid's. This era of I'm going to do just enough to win. And like you mentioned, in close games, we can pull that out. That's out the window now. There's too much data saying the exact opposite, that you're not ready to win close games. So you have to keep that hammer down. You have to get to the point where you build a minimum of a 10-point lead and you maintain that and you keep going for the throat. like you did against the Ravens until you get that margin of error that is foolproof. And that's going to vary from team to team, but it goes hand in hand with what Spags is trying to do as well. And the up and down roller coaster has to come to an end.
It absolutely has to. And I'm going to be very curious to see how this team comes out and plays. I mean, I think the players at this point are realizing that their season is close to being on the line. And that's crazy to say in week 6. But, we talked about Xavier Worthy a little bit in the first. What I would also argue is that if you don't play him in this game, yeah, maybe he's better and maybe he's back for week 7. But if you fall to 2 and 4, you're in a hole that I don't know how you're going to climb out of. So I feel like you kind of have to have him play this game if he's even, I'll say, okay, let me back up for a second. Let's put it that he's at 100% or he was at 100% in the Ravens game. I know he wasn't, but let's call that 100% so we can have that baseline, because otherwise you're looking at multiple different scenarios. If he can be 75% or 80% of that 100% that he was in the Ravens, I think he can be valuable to this team. And I think he can be helpful. If he can't do that, then that's a problem, and he needs to sit, and good luck in this game. But you're in a situation where if you can find a way to get a win this week, you get Rashee Rice back next week. And I will tell you right now, even if Xavier Worthy cannot play in week 7, if Rashee Rice comes back the way I think he's going to come back, this offense is going to look completely different. And it's going to be a lot of fun. But you have to get to week 7, and you have to be 500 when you get there, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes a world of difference in the mountain that you then have to climb. And especially if I agree with you. I think Rashee Rice will come back strong. I just don't know if it'll be week 1. The reacclimation,
Right.
I think maybe a physical impediment. Nobody's the greatest week 1. Some guys can jump in and do very, very well. We'll see what Rashee does.
I'm not so sure that it's going to be him blowing up week 1 near as much as it is just he's going to open everything else up for everybody else, because he's going to take away defense from everybody else. So that's kind of the way I look at that. I agree. I think that it could be, a week or 2 for him to get acclimated, and then, this offense really starts humming. But I do think him being in the offense will open things up for Juju and for Tyquan, and especially Hollywood Brown, who I think needs it. When we start talking about the matchups that we're going to be focused on in this one, I will say the matchup that I'm most curious about, and we talked about this with Matt Derry, Aiden Hutchinson versus Juwan Taylor. That's going to be the matchup I'm going to be focused on. It's their defensive line versus the Chiefs' offensive line. And while Juwan Taylor has played very well and he's had 2 clean games in a row, I think that's helpful. He's got a huge test this week.
And I'll go a step further, because that was going to be my first one too. In not so much specifically to those 2 players, but to the position groups. Because Al-Qadim Muhammad has been coming along as the bookend to Aiden Hutchinson. 6 pressures just last week. And I do think that we're going to see some flipping. So I do think there is going to be, if I'm the Lions, I'm sending Aiden Hutchinson against the rookie left tackle. I don't care how well he's played. He's still a rookie left tackle. I'm going to go attack him. So I do think we could see some mismatch, but it is the edges of the Detroit Lions against the tackles of the Kansas City Chiefs. And right now, I'm seeing it as a wash. I don't see an advantage that's clear. So you got to find a way to win that matchup and keep Patrick Mahomes clean.
Well, and it's curious because stats will tell you, based on what Kansas City likes to do, which is put their tackles on islands, both of their tackles have played very well on islands so far this year. This is going to be one of the toughest tests that they will face all season long until they face the Denver Broncos, who are also very good at rushing the passer. So this is going to be something, and it's going to be a fun test to watch. Another one that I'm going to be very curious about is going to be, how do the Detroit Lions use their offense to try to attack this Chiefs defense? The Chiefs defense looked like they had really figured things out starting in week 2 and kind of fell off in the second half against the Jaguars. I do think when you go back and you see, the Baltimore Ravens were playing, and Kansas City's offense, or Kansas City's defense, stopped what was at the time the best offense in football. They have the ability, they have the skill set, and Spags has got them playing to a point where they can do it. Mm-hmm. How does Detroit attack that? How does Detroit try to go after it? And Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think he will play. He'll be fine, but he is dealing with an injury, so that's going to play into how this is going to go as well.
Yeah, it certainly will. And that affords you a bit of understanding, but Laporta has been surging lately as well.
Yep.
Maybe if you're not a fantasy owner, but the two-pronged attack, I think the Chiefs have enough firepower in the secondary and the linebacker level to slow those down. Are you going to take them both away? I don't think so, but I do think that you can get to the point that you can feel like you can be on the upside of that matchup. On the reverse, I think Patrick Mahomes against the deep secondary, both Brian Branch was out again today, which I was pretty surprised at. I thought this would be a slow trickle for them, as well as their other starting safety. Both missed practice on Friday. Now, that isn't the end of the world, especially when you're talking about a Sunday night game, but it certainly doesn't help. So for me, whoever is out there, whether it's Kirby, whether for some reason if one of the safeties misses, it's going to be about Patrick having that time that we just talked about due to the pass rush, being able to manipulate those safeties in enough to get it to those deep shots to Tyquan or to Xavier if he's able.
Yeah, and you're also looking at going up against, and we talked about this in ad nauseum, going up against what the number 5, one of the top 5 corners of the Detroit Lions, because their other 4 are going to be out. So you're going to be going up against a bunch of guys that probably they weren't even expecting to have on the roster this year or playing defensive snaps for them for the most part. So you're going to be going up against a bunch of guys that you should be able to beat. So when you combine that with the safeties having troubles, that should be a huge win for Kansas City, being able to attack them both deep and short. I mean, just in general in the passing game, they should be able to get things done. So I'm really excited to see that matchup and see how that can play out. The other thing that I'm going to be curious about, though, and this is where this game is different than anything that the Chiefs have really played so far this year, for the most part, Jared Goff is a guy that is not going to be moving around in the pocket very much. Can your pass rush get there? Can they get him off his spot and make him uncomfortable? Because that's how you beat this Lions team, is you make him uncomfortable and you get him where he's not wanting to be. He's not a guy that's going to scramble. He's not going to beat you with his legs. And he's not going to even be a guy that at times, like Trevor Lawrence did at times last week, extends the play with his legs. He's usually a guy that's going to be standing in the pocket, and Kansas City needs to take advantage of that.
You're absolutely right. And Giovanni Manu was the left tackle last week, who has been out of practice at times this week. I believe limited on Friday. We'll get that confirmed. But he was the lowest rated offensive lineman in Detroit last week. So it is much like we were talking about. Maybe they move Hutchinson over to attack the left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. You've got to move something explosive, something exploitive against that left tackle, no matter who it is, whether it's Mono or somebody else, to attack that edge and get to Goff's backside.
Yeah, and that's without Taylor Decker. Probably it looks like he did not practice as well. So you could be down. You're starting 2 left tackles for Detroit, so that's an even bigger deal.
Yeah, and I'm already making that assumption because Decker hasn't practiced at all this week, as I understand. So that makes it very difficult. Mono's banged up too. Are they going to their 3rd? Whatever it is, that's where you have to exploit. And you'd love to get home with 4, but that's where 5 should come into play. That B gap is going to be essential. But there's always something that can throw the math off. The X factors have outcomes that can sometimes shift ball games. We've seen it with turnovers. What are they for this game? Well, it's those guys on defense. That's coming up next. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and you're in business. You can get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across their app. It's super simple. And if you know your first one, it helps you get on a roll. Without a doubt, it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action, when you're involved. It's not just for the casual fan, but if you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes that game day experience that much more. You got to get into it. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today and get started. It's at FanDuel. Well, X factors are come in all shapes and sizes. We've seen them, but the common thread for the Kansas City Chiefs and the 2 things that they've done are red zone turnovers. And as I look up the stats, the Chiefs are about a middling. I think they're ranked 14th in red zone efficiency on the offensive side, but the Lions are ranked 25th in red zone defense efficiency. So at this point, it becomes about getting into the red zone and being able to execute without putting the ball in harm, as Patrick has done twice for both these game-changing interceptions this year.
Be fair, he put it in harm's way once. The other one was on Travis Kelce. He hit Travis Kelce in the hands. You got to catch that ball. They got to be better in the red zone. They got to score touchdowns, and that's going to be a tall task. It is every single week in the NFL, but you have to continually put points on the board. I agree with you. I think that needs to be better. But here's the flip side of that. While I don't disagree with you that they need to score points in the red zone, they've turned the ball over 2 times in 5 games. That shouldn't keep you from winning. Period.
Sure.
2 turnovers in 5 games. And it's not like and yes, one of them led directly to points, and obviously the other one ended up leading to a touchdown too. The Eagles got a touchdown on that drive as well. So it's a 28-point swing, so to speak. But you can't figure that you're going to play perfect football every single week, and they've played very well. They haven't executed, I want to be clear on that, but they have kept control of the ball, and they haven't turned the ball over, and that's huge. So to me, you're moving in the right direction there. Yeah, you want to put points on the board when they're in the red zone, but 2 turnovers in 5 weeks. And the bigger issue for me is they need to get more turnovers. They need to force more turnovers. They haven't really been doing that this year. To me, and I said this earlier this week, I think Kansas City had played 34 games. And if they won the turnover battle, they won the game. And this last week, that streak went
into an end.
Goodbye. So they need to start a new streak this week. They need to turn the ball. They need to not turn the ball over, and they need to get a couple of turnovers. And if you do that, if you give Patrick Mahomes short fields, I think that they will get things taken care of.
The X factor that I see in the trenches that I am concerned about is a player that I actually had rated higher than Omar Norman-Lott. I wanted him in Kansas City. Tyreek Williams is playing well for the Lions, moving around the interior, but playing mostly on the right-hand side of the Lions defense. He will line up against Kingsley Suamataia for the majority of the day is my guess. We will see how it goes. But that is a fairly evenly matched group as well. Kingsley's got to continue his upward trend that he has been very good at the last 3 games, really taking some steps.
Great point.
Now, Williams plays with a lower center of gravity. He keeps his pads low, and Kingsley is generally a little bit high. This is going to be a problem, so he's got to really focus on getting his stance down, playing down to the level physically of Tyreek Williams in order to thwart some of the quick plays that he can make, and especially when he's trying to jump into gaps. So, again, the B gap will be important, but that's one of the X factors.
Yeah, and for me, when I look at this, it's the question, if you have Xavier Worthy, it changes what you're going to do on offense, obviously. But one of the keys, and this isn't necessarily an X factor, but it is a key, that they need to make sure that they have a plan. Andy Reid needs to have a plan B on offense of if Xavier Worthy, for some reason, can't go because he tweaks something before the game or something happens during the game and he's out, you need to have an offensive plan in place and not be in a situation where you're trying to adjust on the fly, because that hasn't worked well for the Chiefs this season. The bigger thing for me, and one of the X factors, is I think you have to get Brashard Smith even more involved, and he needs to be involved in the passing game more so even than the running game. Don't get me wrong, he needs to run the ball some, but use him and get him out and have him want to run a wheel route or two. Have him try to attack the Lions linebackers. And I know they've been playing very well at that position on the linebacker position, but there's not a linebacker in the league that's going to be able to run with him on a regular basis, down in and down out. Take advantage of that and use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I'll even go a step further. When you're talking about defending the run, guys that are playing well, like Jack Campbell, who's a little bit undersized, I won't say grossly so, but some of the other players are not prototypical run stoppers. Run at them. Let's go. Take that physicality that you found the last couple of weeks and use it, starting with Kingsley, but echoing on down the line. Now, when it comes to predictions, I know I get to go first this week, so sorry. I will tell you this. I have a couple of expectations. I think the mood that I've seen Chris Jones in this week tells me that this is going to be a big Chris Jones game. He's ready to shut everyone up. Whether the social media was deleted pre or post, I don't know, and I really don't care. I believe that he's got something to step on the field and prove, and I think that he will. I think that pulls the whole group along, to tell you the truth. So I'm expecting the front to play pretty well. I'm also expecting that they have got to make a change with Shamari Connor not playing in deep zones, not giving up these plays that honestly, he's just not prepared to defend. They have to get CRW on the field more. I expect that we're going to see him a little bit more, hopefully Noel Williams as well, but that remains to be seen, the wash from Jalen Watson. In the end, you make those two adjustments on defense. Whether you have Xavier or not, I do feel you can move the ball on the Detroit Lions. I still think this is going to be a barn burner. I don't think that it's going to be a gap. I don't think the Chiefs are going to have an opportunity to run the score up. I think they're going to have to score late to make it a 28-27 win for the Chiefs.
Oh, man, I hate this one. 4-1 team versus a team that's been playing very well. Their offense has been playing fantastic, and I'm talking about the Detroit Lions against a team that is 2-3 and probably, in some ways, you could argue probably deserves to be 1-4. I mean, a bounce different in the Giants game, and that could be a loss too. I got to see it more from this team. I agree with you. I think Chris Jones has looked like he is zoned in. I think that he is going to be showing some fire. The last time the Chiefs played the Lions, he was sitting up in the seats, didn't play. So I do think that but I think he's locked in based on what happened in the Jacksonville game. I guarantee you he's heard it. I'm sure he heard it in the locker room, probably a little bit, and I'm sure he heard it from the coaches a bit too. You kind of get what he was probably trying to do in that situation, but at the same time, it looked really bad. So he's going to want to shut people up. The defense is going to want to shut people up, and I understand all that. But at the end of the day, this team has beat themselves more often than they have not. And I don't see them getting out of their own way at this point, because I think the reality is that you're looking at a situation where there's going to be added pressure because of the point of where they are in the season already, and they're facing their fourth loss. And I do think that there are some guys that just aren't going to be ready for that, and I think it's going to cost them. I see Kansas City losing this game probably 31-24.
Okay. We're going to see how it comes out. We want to know what you think.
I would love to be wrong. I want to be clear.
I hope that you are. On a Friday, folks, as we put this out a few days before the ball game, a late game, one that we will be live post-game, as we always are. So watch out for some cool things coming, as well as some new formats from us. Check that out and be on where you need to be on, when you need to be on. Post-game for anywhere from 90 minutes of wherever we are, you're going to get a ton of information, so don't miss that. But let's hope that we're in celebration. If you think that they are, I want to see your predictions down in the comments on this video. Hit us at X as well. You can even go into the iTunes reviews. I said iTunes. It's great. Apple Podcasts. You can review us there, and you can put comments in there as well, because I want to know what you guys think, and whether you think I'm out in left field and rose-colored glasses, or if Chris is being too critical. We want your thumbs up, thumbs down. We appreciate you guys being here. There is a lot to go over, and this is a turning point in this season for the Chiefs, one way or the other. We'll get Rashee Rice back next week, and we'll see what that does. But in the meantime, there's a lot to accomplish. We hope that you will be with us for the entire ride. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for being back with us post-game. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you then.